The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Good to have Paul Gotham back in the building.
Happy to be here.
How's the website doing?
Great.
PickinSplinters.com, Vision High School Sports Beat. Mike Catalana co-hosting along with Pat Duffy. You said this is one of your favorite uniforms.
This is it might be my favorite Bills jersey. Golden Domer, Bills defensive back, Jeff Burris 35th anniversary, 75th anniversary jersey. I love me some Jeff Burris, man. Love me Jeff.
You're operating a website, the PickinSplinters.com. It's entirely high school, and yet, what's the dynamic? The daily newspaper seems to be doing a little bit less of everything. Your website's kind of taken off. Where does high school sports fit these days? Maybe because compared to where they used to.
Based on my viewership, it's fitting well. And I'd like to thank all the readers out there who keep coming back every day. There are a bunch of different ways to look at how high school athletics fit. And I'll just go with one, baseball. Next year, Section 5 will have 9 kids on the field who already have Division I commitments. I don't know if we've ever had that. Have we ever had that many?
No, it's not, especially in baseball.
And they're going to join, I think we have 15 kids who are already playing Division I baseball. And we have 10 former baseball players who played affiliated baseball this year.
Yeah.
Including, we got Greg Cullen going from McQuaid, was the leading hitter in the country at Niagara. And then he gets drafted by the Braves. Chris Bostic, when's the last time we had a player from Section 5 play on 2 different major league organizations?
Where did you go to high school?
Aquinas.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But in terms of getting people interested, you were talking about how difficult it seems to be to get people invested in all of this from the outside.
So there's 2 different types of people who would pay attention to high school sports. One being parents, people in the mix. While their kid is playing a sport, they're invested in the whole sport, as in they're a hockey parent and they know all the Section 5 teams and they watch for that, or they watch for their own kid. We have never been a community that's been the other one, which is the Texas football community, where there's 30,000 people at a game and people are locked in. We've had moments of that in different sports, maybe like McQuaid basketball during that one stretch when they were nationally ranked.
And they're isolated moments.
It's isolated moments. I think it still takes that to get, again, difference for what Paul's doing, very specific on that. And we have our website that includes high school sports. But in terms of getting people to choose, on a newscast, like on Channel 13, we show a lot of high school sports, but it is still for a general audience to try to get them connected. And certain sports still connect more with others from that perspective. And that would be football and hockey and even like girls soccer, which has become much bigger in Rochester over the years, especially going back to Abby's time. So I think it's 2 different things. There's interest in a broad base in high school sports, but then there's a question, media-wise, are people talking? Do you ever get people talking about high school on your show?
Well, I mean, I don't want in the break
Unless
room.
you take a shot at Aquinas, right?
Well,
then everyone comes up.
Which I would never do. But I will say this, and I know you have your numbers to back your things up, but I find myself going weekly to Pickin Splinters now. If you could work on your writing, I'd appreciate it, Kevin. That was great. But no, the talent in this city, not just for baseball, but the kids that are getting D1 scholarships playing football and hockey and lacrosse and the girls soccer that you brought up. It's an exciting time. I'm finding myself now following these kids that played basketball here to their prep schools if they go, then on a D1 basketball. And I'm proud, even though I have nothing to do with these kids. I, at 32 years old, and this is going to sound really weird, have way more of an interest in high school sports than I did when I was playing high school sports. And I don't know if that's me being a weirdo or there's been so much success that it's exciting to follow.
Yeah, it's funny because if there's one thing that's always been said that Rochester does well, it's like when somebody makes good, we grasp onto them and, hoist them up like nobody's business.
And that should be a reason why we go out. And that's all those numbers, all those, the reasons that we bring up those things. People should be, not necessarily Texas, we're not the size of Texas, so we can't expect those numbers, but we should have full gymnasiums for basketball this year.
Yeah.
They really should.
Well, there's a lot of talent, but that's the difference. Does the general sports fan choose to say, I'm going to go watch this sport? Again, that's a different argument than us having success as a section in different sports and talented kids and going on to play in college. The other one is the interest from the general public in those sports. It does happen sometimes. There's people that'll go to the Section 5 basketball tournament because it's good basketball and they enjoy seeing the competition, but there's that draw too. And again, maybe we'll never be there. Maybe that's not that important to most people, but it is something when you're looking at the overall place for high school sports in this area.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We talk the football team next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Let's talk Buffalo Bills. Unsustainable. That was a word that Sal used in the way he saw it necessary for the Bills to win football games. We got it this past week, and they get a win over the Titans. Where do we stand heading into this week?
In terms of that, it is the way they can win football games. It's not going to work that way every week. I thought their game plan was good. And look, we all want to see Josh Allen attempt to develop more, and I think he's going to need to throw the ball more. But there is a balance to that. They went into that Green Bay game. I thought they had a terrible game plan. I thought they exposed Allen too much, and they did nothing. They didn't use their best player, McCoy, in that game in the right way. So they go into this game against the Titans team that had played 3 tough games in a row, and they turned it into a slugfest, which is what it was, and they won the game. I don't think they have any reason to apologize for winning that way, but I would agree with Sal. It's tough in the long term to win. But if you want to see this team win games, this is the way this current team can win football games, and that's limiting your throws, trying to run the ball, and play defense. Hard to win a lot in the NFL that way.
How many? How many is...
Well, okay, if the argument is you're not going to be able to win games running the ball like that, I tend to agree. But if the argument is you can't win games consistently getting turnovers in today's league, I think that's an archaic thought, right? Like, the quarterbacks throw the ball so much. The pass or the run plays now aren't even really run plays. You got shovel passes trying to get people. The ball comes out way more than it used to. So if you build a team that is going to ball hawk, like it seems like the Bills are with the last couple of weeks, I think you could absolutely win games that way.
And I think it is unfair to describe turnovers as these things that happen as random. And talk to Jerry Hughes about that in the locker room, and they get fired up with that. He goes, I don't want to hear anybody say it's random. We work at that. That is what we know. And they talk to the players. They have a list on the wall of players that will turn the ball over. They know the guys that can be exposed to that. That's why those players get so freaked out when they fumble, because they know their name's going on the wall and from the other teams, and they know they're going for the strip. You saw Tremaine Edmonds do it. Mm-hmm. They are trained this way. The Bills know this is what works for them. So they get turnovers. The Titans hadn't lost a fumble all year. The Bills get turnovers because they're good at it.
But +2 to have a chance, to me, seems high.
Yeah, but to have a chance to win, that happened to be the way it came out in that game. I think most of the time, most teams, when you're plus, you have a very good chance to win the game. That's what the Bills do well. But in the long term, in this day and age of the NFL, you're going to have to throw the ball. You're going to have to be a more offensive team. But I don't think they should apologize for winning that way.
Paul, how do you see it?
Well, speaking about Josh Allen, nice to see the signing of Anderson to bring in some sort of veteran presence there, because he is going to need help with making decisions, and he's probably going to need help with patience overall, because if they are going to run the ball, and a talented kid like him, he's going to want to throw it. You got that veteran presence to bring him along.
Yeah, let's play the game here. We got the Bills getting 8.5 at Houston this week.
Yeah, I watched that Houston team last week. They're fun to watch, but Deshaun Watson took a beating in that game. I don't know what Bill O'Brien is doing with him. He's going to get the guy killed out there. I think he's sore. I think he's playing hurt. Their defensive line, outstanding, and DeAndre Hopkins is a freak of an athlete at wide receiver and a great player. I think the Texans have sort of gotten gifts to win their 2 games. I think the Bills stay within the 8.5. I think they have a legitimate shot, and I think if they could knock The quarterback out of the game, Watson, going against Brandon Whedon, they could win the game outright. But I'll say for now the Bills cover the spread.
Brandon Whedon is still
Brandon
in the league.
Whedon is the backup, yeah.
Who's your other game?
Yeah, I'm going to look at taking the 49ers are getting 9.5 points against the Packers. I'm just don't see a lot that I like about the Packers. I think they'll win that game. But the 49ers last week doubled the output of Arizona. They just made too many mistakes. I think they'll lose, but I'm going to take them with the points.
Good game. Paul, what do you got?
Mike makes a good case. I'll go with the Bills. I'll take the Bills and the points. And you know what? The Bears got me a win last time. They're giving up 3 on the road, but I'll take the Bears again against Miami.
Sir?
I made a deal on this show last week, I think it was, that if the Bills covered the last one, I'll start having faith again. And 8.5 against a Texans team that isn't all that great. Yeah, I think they covered the 8.5. Also, is J.J. Watt going to be ready to play, or is he going to be busy tweeting about all the great things that he's done over the last 3 years?
Oh,
What?
you're such a hater.
What? What? Is it true that charity doesn't count if you don't take a picture of yourself doing it, or lifting weights, they don't affect your body if you don't take a picture while you're doing it?
Okay, moving right along.
The Browns are 1-point dogs against the Chargers at home this week. There's no way the Browns cover that. There's too much tape on Mayfield. Now, this is where the Mayfield train starts to come back down to earth. Chargers cover that, no problem.
That's how far they've come, though, is they're rated, that way, even if it's just for a week. I got to take the Patriots. The Patriots-Kansas City game in New England, that's going to be fun. Patriots giving 3.5, and I like Houston in the Buffalo game. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee, Brew House. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, Pat, the job that Aaron Boone did managing the Yankees in his first year.
There was a very smart, good-looking, bearded man who sat here in the beginning of the baseball season. We were discussing Aaron Boone, and everyone was trying to tell me what a great hire it was. And that smart, bearded man on a show said there's going to come to a point during the season or in the playoffs where he needs to make a baseball decision, and he won't be able to do it because he's never coached or managed a game of any kind of baseball in his life. And it was put on full display against the Red Sox on Tuesday night, and what happened? He choked on it. He didn't know what to do. He had talent that was too big for the room that he didn't know how to control. Maybe he felt uncomfortable going to get Sabathia because Sabathia is his guy. Maybe he was afraid of how to manage the middle relief and the bullpen, but he screwed up, and this is all on the Yankees for giving him that kind of responsibility with, like you said off the air earlier, the team that they built for him to play with.
Gentlemen.
Well, you go ahead first, Paul, because I know you play.
Well, right to your point about
thank
that.
Who's this bearded guy he's talking about?
He coached Game 3 like a media member. He coached Game 3. I got the impression that he's like, well, we've got all this momentum coming out of Game 2, and we're just going to carry it through. Momentum's as good as your next day's starter, and that didn't go very well. They didn't look like they had a plan. I mean, sending Severino out for that next inning. Here's the thing. The Yankees would have been better served if they had bullpenned it, because they basically did that, right?
That's hindsight.
No, he's right.
But
It's
they
hindsight.
basically, it is hindsight. It is hindsight, but they bullpenned in reaction. When you trot Lance Lynn out there, he's in a situation, if you'd put him out there at the beginning of the inning, he has a better opportunity. You put him out there with runners on base, no outs, and he panicked. And it just went from there.
I think he was bad, and I think this is an easy out for Yankee fans who want to find somebody to blame. Players are to blame too, especially in that last game. That Boston bullpen stinks, and the Yankees did not take advantage, and Giancarlo Stanton should be embarrassed at how he played in that series. Aaron Judge is a guy who stepped up in the playoffs. Stanton is the new version of A-Rod, a guy with a huge contract at the end who is going to just saddle this team for many years now. So there were so many guys that failed. The surprising thing was that Sanchez played so well for them in the playoff series. Boone was bad. but he had a lot of help. Plus, it's an organizational fail. Pitching coach, staff in total, they had no idea what they were doing.
Mike Catalana, he's an NL homer who at the beginning of the year said you can throw any idiot you want into a management position in the American League and they would succeed. We have the tape. Go find it. Find that tape.
I think it's a surprise hire by the Yankees. I think it's going to be a absolute home run. Mark the tape, an absolute home run.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Bacon, egg, cheese. Only one way to make this better. Another one. Dunkin' Go-Tos. Get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches for $5. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
There's something very sacred in hockey. It's called the banner, right? You've seen them inside the Blue Cross Arena. Maybe you've been to a Sabres game. You've seen a couple of banners there. The Nashville Predators did something earlier this week that's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in sports. They won the President's Cup. If you're not a hockey fan, that's the most points in the regular season. So they raised their President's Cup banner, which is fine. They also raised the Western Conference regular season championship banner, which is a banner that's never been raised anywhere before because it's not a real thing. And it's Nashville. Like, I get that you want to expand hockey to warm weather places, and it's been successful in some and unsuccessful in others, but it's stuff like this that makes actual hockey fans who understand things so angry. There are 4 banners, 4 that you should raise inside a hockey rink. Stanley Cup champions, conference finals, your President's Champion, President's Cup, and player retired jerseys. When you walk into Montreal or Toronto, even though nothing really great since '64 in Toronto, you feel the banners. It's an impressive thing. I'm going to walk into Bridgestone Arena and see that you guys did pretty well up until it mattered in the playoffs. If you're Nashville, be better. Take your cowboy hat off, turn on the CBC a little bit, and understand how we real hockey people do it. Nashville.
I think conference finals is even stretching it.
Well, no, I mean, you're in the Cup. That's a journey, Mike. You know, with hockey, you deserve to be there.
And what has the guy from the Sabres been doing for the last few years that raises the banners? What's he been up to?
Wow. Is he still employed?
You're still mad at me about the NL home run? Good job.
He got a good job if he's getting paid.
That's right.
Paulie, what do you got?
Congratulations go out to Daryl Barley, the current East High basketball coach and former East High basketball star, who was recently named on a list of all-time great players in the coaching career of John Beilein. A Michigan Wolverines fan site found on the Sports Illustrated network listed Barley on that site along with guys like Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway Jr., and a great name from the past, Kevin Pittsnagel. On that list, Daryl Barley comes in at number 2. The story is worth saying. It's worth telling. John Beilein, then the head coach of Lemoyne, traveled to East High to see a practice. He took with him current Nazareth head coach Kevin Broderick. The two of them went in and saw something special that day. Daryl Barley on display. As the story goes, the two of them get out in the parking lot. Broderick, in his first job, as an assistant coach, is following along, and Beilein turns around to him and says, "Don't tell a soul what you just saw." Beilein knew it then. We know it now. Barley went on to set the Canisius single-game freshman scoring mark at Canisius against none other than Duke. That Duke team went on to win the national title. He later won Conference Player of the Year and led Canisius to the NCAA tournament. The Griffins haven't been back since then. Great job, Daryl. Good to see you on that list.
Yeah, it's a good, thoughtful interview, too. I always like talking to Daryl. Yeah. He's Ty. Very good.
Quarterbacks, right? Rookies. So here's what I've come up with now. I said before, give them the gold jacket, the Hall of Fame jacket. And then I thought of another way because it fits with Sam Darnold this past week. Go from being a bust to getting a bust, right? Darnold started out great, and then he fell apart for 3 weeks. Then he came back. And then Josh Rosen. Oh, my God. Josh Rosen threw a 75-yard touchdown pass and then completed 9 of his next 24 after that. And we know what Josh Allen did here. I think Baker's a little bit of a different case. He's got probably the best team around him, and he's Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall, and I think he's settled into that a little bit more, though to Pat's point, I think, right, teams are going to get more tape on him. All 3 of those other quarterbacks completed 10 passes this week. and they all somehow ended up getting wins. There's all different ways to go about it. The way Josh Allen did it for the Bills is not what you want to see long term. None of them at the moment is what you want to see long term. But in the short term, they're on the field, they're getting experience. Don't go by either being a bust or getting a bust. It's all a process.
I love how it's a fluid narrative, too, and it's going to be talked about for as long as we're doing the show, I think.
That is the one.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, presented by Dunkin' Donuts. Nice job today. Good to have you back,
Happy to be
guys.
here.
Thanks.
As always, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.